up in San Diego, joined the Navy, was in for 8 years, painted planes in the Navy. I actually got in the hobby when I was about 16. Saw a neighbor that was outside priming some, I think it was Dark Angels at the time, and back when GW made like the Dark Angels primer. And you know, as an artistic person, sometimes when you see something that looks challenging, I'm the kind of person that wants to try it at least once.
Yeah.
And I asked my neighbor, like, hey, what are these for? He showed me the books, and I looked at his models. They were primed green, and then he painted some red in the eyes and sometimes on the eyebrow here and on the face and stuff. And I was looking through the book going, this isn't how they're supposed to look, you know? And he's like, well, hey, if you want to give it a try, go for it. And from then on, I got sucked in. And soon after, I joined the Navy, and then didn't touch the hobby, and then got back into it in 2008. And been painting ever since.
Justin got me into wargaming like 3 years ago.
Yeah, and you're part of the, I guess, Red Steel Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And you're married?
Yep.
No
married.
kids?
No kids. Married 5 years.
Right on, right on. What did your wife think about your hobby?
She's actually pretty good about it. She doesn't really mind too much as long as I'm not spending too much money.
Yeah.
But
gotcha.
That doesn't really happen. I spend a lot of money on it, but other than that, she has her own hobbies, so she understands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she doesn't really give me much.
Does she has as many? Does her hobbies are as expensive as yours?
They can get expensive. She's an animal person, and she like has fish and geckos, so that can get expensive.
All right, so she has no argument. Or
no, not really.
No backup for any arguments.
Not really.
What do you like best about painting models?
Originally?
Yeah, originally.
It's very relaxing. It's cool to, I mean, I don't know about other people. I got really excited. I think the most exciting time was when I got back into the hobby as an adult with money and having access to the internet, which is a big plus compared to back in the day when you would just, you'd have, if you could talk to other painters, you could. If not, you just had the White Dwarf and you'd follow what Heavy Metal showed you how to do. And back then, Heavy Metal was very simple. They didn't have the master class where they would show you like a high-end model and talk about how they did it. It was basically, here's your base coat, and it was like ink washes because we didn't have normal washes. It was like, oh, put chestnut ink on this, and then highlight your edges, or dry brushing, which was so magical to me. Like, oh, I got all this detail, and all I got to do is flick a brush over it and make stuff come out. And going back into the hobby as an adult, like, and being able to look on the internet about how blending was, because I mean, if you looked at a magazine from back in 1997 versus now, the techniques have changed big time. Back then it was all bright colors, as bright as you could go. Everything was supposed to burn your retinas or be like day glow. And now it's so much more advanced. Everything's skilled up so much, and having access to the internet and to search something cool, you find something that you like. And the most exciting part for me was to look at it, absorb it, and then try it out, and then actually get it right. And then you have your aha moment where you're going, ooh, I know how to do this now. Now I can do skin. Now I know how to blend this way and things like that. And that was always fun. Now the relaxation after picking up all those techniques is being able to visualize something in your head and make it come to life. Not have to compromise because you saw gold somewhere that's really good, but you don't know how to do gold really well. And saying, well, I'll do it silver because I know how to do silver. You're not compromising. So whatever happens in your head, you can transfer it, 100% or get close to that. It's really nice to be able to do that.
Half of the fun is painting, and I've painted stuff for my friends, but I'm not like you guys. I don't commission paint or anything like that. I just do it myself.
Okay, and you use brush, airbrush, or both?
Both. I mean, I don't own an airbrush. I usually borrow Justin's. Actually, the airbrush I own, I just use it for base coats, like the Harbor Freight.
Okay.
It's just a cheap one just to put a base coat down.
So you're only using the airbrush just to base coat stuff?
Yeah, unless I have to go out and I would use an airbrush more if I owned one, but I don't own one. I don't have anything against airbrushes. So.
But then that's okay too. I mean, just getting airbrushes to base coat is a lot more faster than using aerosol cans and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Right? Now, what was some of your favorite figures you painted? You got any favorites in your collection?
My Blood Angel Librarian and Chaplain are probably my favorite from 40K.
Okay.
And then my Terminus for Crix, the War Machine.
Okay.
And then I painted the Menoth Battle Engine for my buddy.
Oh, nice.
And it took me about 30 hours to paint, but that's probably my all-time favorite model that I've ever painted.
Obviously, you're a big airbrusher. I mean, you didn't obviously start that way.
No.
You were a brush user at first, right?
Yeah.
And then you got into airbrushing, and did you suddenly just pick that up and was able to go with it?
It was a necessity for commission painting, because when you think about it, there were companies at the time. Armory, I think Army Painter came out with their first couple colors and things like that, and they brought to the table, hey, why not get priming and base coating done at the same time? Right. If your whole army is going to be red, here, let's spray it red. But I thought, they don't have all the colors I want. What if I got to do like old school, Space Wolves that are going to be really bright blue? It'd be really nice to use a cheap primer, because those bottles of primer, pretty expensive.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I could use a cheap neutral primer like gray or white from whatever company I wanted to, I figured, hey, let's go with that, and then use the airbrush to base coat everything and speed everything up. So I was at a point where a lot of people are. They get their airbrush, what do they use it for? Base coating, and that's it. Yeah. And as I started to pick up different skills, doing the zenithal highlighting and things like that, it became more useful. Instead of just base coating, we're doing 3-color base coat. I tried the spraying washes on like Undead. That works really well. And that was really what got me into airbrushing. And then I started to just say, got to find more uses for this, because it does blends that would take me forever to do.
Right. And
then just kept going, seeing how small I could get, how, what was practical, what could I get done that was quicker than doing it by hand. And then here we are today, and I don't ever paint a model that doesn't have airbrush work on it.
Here's the thing. I get this question a lot, and I know you do too. We talked about it before. There's a lot of people who just starting an airbrush, and since airbrush is still pretty new in our hobby, and in our corner of the hobby actually, that a lot of people still wondering if they should get one, and where to start if they do. And I guess the biggest question is, where do I start? I just got an airbrush. Where do I start? And I always tell them, look, everything's about techniques, right? You got to pick up a technique. Look what Les does. Look what Marnius does, or Painting does, and take a look at their techniques. They're teaching you the techniques. Learn those techniques and build upon that. And I think that's the biggest thing. You can't just learn the techniques, but you got to build upon it. You got to go beyond that, right?
Right.
And that's where you get at where, like your level, or at my level, or all these other people's. People look at it and they're like, wow, it's it's so awesome. But to get there, you gotta keep practicing. You gotta keep doing it, and then move beyond that.
Yeah,
correct.
It's just like a paintbrush. When you first picked up a paintbrush, you weren't awesome with it.
Yeah.
For me, I remember sitting there trying to get the concept. Like, it doesn't move like a pencil. Like, I have to watch where the bristles are moving and guide them. And that was like, people saying, oh, you're not supposed to push the paint. You got to pull it. And getting that in my head, it's kind of the same thing with the airbrush. Is there's a little bit more to it, because at least a bristle, you can see the brush touch the model. With an airbrush, it's all sensation, and getting target practice. So when you look at something, your airbrush is going to be spraying there. And how do you get better at that? Just base coating models. Because if you're going like, oh, I'm going to spray the face, and then you see it hit the shoulder, then you're like, oh, okay. Every time you adjust and you want to spray where you want to spray, you know, and you move it back up to the face where you were originally looking, you're getting your muscle memory and things like that. And people don't know, just putting in the hours with your airbrush gets your target practice done. And then once you have your target practice done, then you start to play with, you know, hypersensitivity in your fingers, knowing that there's not just an on and off. It's, you know, airbrushes, dual actions aren't, you know, 100% on or off, and that's hard to absorb for a lot of people. They think, oh, you know, it's only that way. They don't realize, okay, if you get better at just pulling back slightly, you can get small amounts of paint, which is good for doing small things. I mean, you can highlight a face on a 32 mil model with an airbrush if you wanted to, but you just have to, you know, work on that. And how do you get that? Time.
Yeah, practice on what we call trigger control.
Yep.
The victory conditions are to get all non-martyr units off the table, and you can do that by turn 4 and on. And martyr units are any Death Company, anything Death Company Dreadnoughts, Death Company Tycho, and Lamartes, and any unit that succumbed to the Red Thirst.
Okay.
So the objective is to get them off. Oh, I decided to run. Well, I moved to go up, and I rolled 2 2s. And then I rolled to run, and I rolled a 1. So I couldn't even get up to the first floor.
So his Death Company are just sitting over here in the corner.
I wanted to run instead of shoot because I figured that I probably wouldn't kill anything shooting it. And I wanted to get on the first floor at least, and I can't get up to the first floor. I have Dark Eldar, Tyranids, Chaos Space Marines, and then I just sold my Blood Angels.
So basically, you can't make up your mind.
No.
No, gotcha.
Exactly.
And on the War Machine side?
I have Crix, Retribution of Syra, and I have Legion of Everblight.
Okay, right on. Wow. There too, I take it, yeah? So it seems like you're more, you know, we just talked to Justin. He had, you know, 1 or 2 armies. You seem to have a lot more. So you're one of those players that like to get their hands into different armies, trying to
because I don't want it to stagnate, you know. And I'd rather spend, rather than buying like 6,000 points of one army, I'd rather buy 3,000 points of 2 armies.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
And whatever floats my boat at the time, I'll play it, you know.
Okay, yeah. So did you play any 6th edition rules yet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and what do you think about the 6th edition rules?
They're fun. I think people need to play them and before they start judging it harshly. There's some things that, you know, it's like every other game. There's some issues.
Yeah.
And people just need to expect the change and understand the change.
Gotcha.
I think it's changed. I think, in my opinion, I stopped playing 40K the last like 8 months of 5th edition. I just got bored of it.
Yeah, same here.
So, and it kind of like 6th edition kind of rekindled the game for me. Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, what is, I don't know about 6th edition, what's your favorite about the changes of 6th edition?
I like the allies, to be honest.
Ally attachments, yeah.
Because I have Chaos Marines, and I was going to do Word Bearers in 5th edition, but the only way you can really do that is take the cheap demons. Now I can actually take the actual demons, and you know, it'll be fluffy, it could be competitive at the same time. You know, it doesn't have to break the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be people that are going to try to break it, you know, but just don't play against them, you know.
Yeah. Now, we had this conversation about you not playing much, and you're not much of a player because you get bored, or you just kind of like start, after turn 2, you're just like, oh, gotta go do something else.
It's partly that. I mean, I was kind of, I would say, jaded. Like, the reason when I got into the hobby, not just my neighbor letting me paint some of his models, I was kind of like, that's cool. I wonder what else is with this. He took me when he ran out of paints. He took me to the local store. And I remember walking into the store and seeing the gaming area. And I saw the gaming area, and there was a full-on table. It wasn't just blue or, you know, green painted table with random terrain on it. It was like a full-on beautiful table, terrain, trees, all that stuff, like fully built in. It looked so professional. There was 2 armies on it that were fully painted, and I said, wow, it looks like a video game, like where everyone's at. And then I kind of, you know, cruised into the Games Workshop section, and I started to see like the Chaos guys, and I was like, oh, look, they, you know, they're all gothic future, you know, very very dark, and then I saw the rule book with the skull on it, and I was just kind of sold, and I started collecting like the Chaos Marine Army guys and kind of doing that stuff. Now, when I go to the game stores nowadays, I see people playing in the tables, man. It's like, even if you have beautiful armies out there, the tables just kill me. It's like, you know, you can get the 2 best football teams in the world, and they're all decked out with their beautiful uniforms, this and that, and then you put them in like a junkyard. You know, they don't even have grass to play on. It's dirt. Stuff's randomly thrown everywhere. None of it matches. You're like, why is the sink here? I don't know, but we have to play here. And that's what it feels like going into game stores. You know, it's like they don't take the time to make their terrain, and you know, things like that. And I remember Rubbish In, Rubbish Out, I would love to have played in his old game store because their tables were ridiculously nice. And that's the stuff that kind of sucks me in, is, you know, playing on that. So I think, you know, we make our tables.
Yeah,
we'll make them gorgeous, because, and I, you know, that'll make me feel better about playing there and things like that. But you know, that's all going to change. A lot of it has to do with not understanding, not really having a strategy. I just say, hey, there's the enemy, let's go try to shoot at that guy. Right. I don't really have a game plan, so that's something that you'll have to get me into.
Oh yeah, it's not a problem.
Many games that we play, since you're more of a gamer. Yeah, we'll definitely get that in, and hopefully I can be, you know, an actual asset to Red Steel Los Angeles instead of like, oh, well, we got a guy who's got an army that's painted, but you know, we expect he's going to lose, you know, and actually develop strategy and then get that gamer side. I hate being in conversations where people start talking tactics, and I'm like,
and then you're lost.
I just get lost in it.
Justin does all the YouTube stuff and all the internet stuff. I'm just, I don't know, I'm just there to play.
Yeah, I gotcha.
You know what I mean?
I heard you start to say pretty boy.
I'm
or
the
something.
face.
I'm
just the hired. I'm the hired hand.
Oh, okay. Much better looking than everyone else.
No, I'm just making a stupid joke, but he does all that. I just want to play. That's my.
Gotcha.
That's my thing.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Jesse. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank
you. Well, thanks a lot, Les. Thank you for coming.
No problem.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll talk to you more later.
Yep.